Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday. It is the 10th of July, and it is the view from the top. People coming in from all over the world. I see our old friend Nicola Radinovic has come in. He says, hi, everyone tuning in from Journey. Nice to see you. Mark Rabe from sunny Dallas. Gosh, I wish it was sunny here. We're having a lousy summer at the moment down in London town. I see Lana Lauer is coming here. We've got Marifa Alvarez. Ray Abbott is here. Taylor is backstage with us from Move for Hunger. We've got such a great show for you today. We're talking about mobility for good. We're talking about what we can all do to give back in our community in the wonderful world of global mobility. We've got three amazing guests. I'm so excited. We've got from Move for Hunger, we've got Taylor Heideman from Talent Beyond Boundaries. We've got Betsy Fisher, and we've got the one and only Tanya Mariottini from eBay. There she goes. She'll be joining the view from the top to talk about Move for Hunger and WERC, because Tanya is on the board of both of those. So what an amazing show we've got today. If you've ever volunteered, or you've thought about volunteering, you found ways to give back, or you want to give back, you know, we're going to talk about all the things you can do and how you can help people that need help. Amazing show. But you know how it works, everybody. What we want is for you to join the conversation, as Drew just did there. Write in the comments box, tell us who you are, where you are, what's going on, and engage with our speakers as we go through this amazing show today. By the way, if you do want to get credits for personal development, CPD, then we've got them. Our good friends at Worldwide ERC have given us credits for GMS and CRP, and they're there. And then our good friends at Rocket Mortgage have given us credits for HRCI and for SHRM. So if you want those credits, again, they're there. I'll leave that up there for a minute or two. You can either just jot down the relevant number, or screenshot it, or take a picture, or do whatever you want. But those are the credits there. Now, next week, we've got another amazing show for you today. For you next week. Next week, I'm super excited that we've got Kirsten Meyerhoff from Siemens Gamesa talking about managing a mega program. So if you've got a program where you manage, I don't know, 50 or 100 or 200 assignees, imagine what it's like if you manage tens of thousands. And also, if those tens of thousands are in some pretty remote locations, including literally in the middle of the ocean. So don't miss it. If you want to know what it's like to manage a mega program, tune in next week to join us as we go through what they're doing at Siemens Gamesa. Trust me, you will find it fascinating. So that's next week. But what about last week? What has happened in the last 7 days in the wonderful world of global mobility? What has been our breaking news? Let's have a look. there we have it. Congratulations to everyone who's been promoted this week. Congratulations to everyone who's started a new job. And also, if you are looking, there's plenty of jobs out there. I saw a really one out with TikTok, loads of other great companies out there. So loads of jobs out there in the market if you are looking. By the way, if you want to share your news, perhaps you've been promoted, you've got a new job, you've won an award, or you've got a job that you want to get filled if you're an employer, then let us know. And if we can do anything to promote your job opportunity or to tell the world about your little bit of news, then just send us a message and we'll try and include you in the little breaking news video next week. Anyway, it's been a big week for elections, and obviously elections tend to have impact on immigration. And who better to tell us about it all than the one and only Julia Onslow-Cole from Fragments. So everybody, you know how it works. Hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button, and let's say hello and welcome to Julia Onslow-Cole. Hey, Julia, hi. So I think you're on mute, actually, Julia. So it's been a busy week. We've had a landslide change of government in the UK. We've had what I suppose we can best describe as chaos in France. So tell us about what that means and the immigration implications.
Well, I mean, one thing, stepping back at the beginning of this year, there was such a talk about this being the big year of elections, which it was. But I just don't think people actually expected such outcomes as they have from these elections. And all of the elections, there's been quite some surprise. So just to refresh on the French election, we did discuss this a couple of weeks back, but we explained that there were European parliamentary elections. And we did explain that there's three big institutions of the European Union, and the European Parliament is one of the big three. And what happened a few weeks ago is that the European Parliament had an election. They had to take the potential European members of Parliament from each of the 27 European countries. And so there were votes along national lines in all of those countries, and then they came together into the European Parliament and the people that won, and then they formed these supergroups. And the biggest supergroup is the European People's Party, and it's really centre-right, but there was a big swing in those elections to the far right. And although that party has the majority, it's a much more far-right parliament than it was before. Now, one of the things I said at the time was that these European parliamentary elections are often looked at by national governments of these 27 countries, and they see, well, how are people voting? Because it's a very good indicator of how people are feeling. And in France, there was this massive swing to the right. Marine Le Pen got a lot of MEPs into the European Parliament. And so this caused this snap election in France. That's why Macron called that very quick election. And it's quite similar to what happened in the UK with our then Prime Minister, Richie Sunak, who was very concerned about the Reform Party. He was quite concerned about what Nigel Farage would do. And he thought that by calling a very quick early election, catching everyone on surprise, he would actually stop reform. So he kind of failed in that. Macron sort of, you could argue either way whether he's done better by calling this early election, but obviously things are not looking good in France. So what happened is that in France, you have two rounds of election. In the first round of election, there was an enormous swing to the far right. In fact, the far right got 33% of the popular vote. And then what happened in the second election, the far left formed an alliance between four different groups, But this alliance were really of people who had very little in common. So they were very clever for the actual election, but there's not much hope that they can really stay together as a really good group, because they have such varying views about things, including who should be prime minister. So the far left actually did quite well, but they're 100 seats short of having a kind of majority government. And, you know, at the moment, there's a lot of discussion about what's going to happen next. Macron wouldn't let his prime minister resign, so he's still in place, because, you know, there isn't a minority government from the far left.
He resigned and then he unresigned.
Yes, yes. And, you know, a number of things could happen. You know, it could be that Macron will get a coalition across the parties, probably not with the far right, because historically they never have, and also that polled the least. It could be that Macron and the far left will have some sort of coalition. People think that's unlikely because of the disparity of views. You could actually get a technical government where there's like a civil servant who just keeps everything ticking over. So that could be something. And all of these discussions are now ongoing. Now, the thing about it is that this really boils down to the fact that whatever happens, legislation's really unlikely to get through, whatever happens, in, you know, because there's just no real majority. And also anything to do with immigration is almost certainly not going to get through, because it causes such a divisive opinion. So what we think this means for immigration is that it's obviously causing a lot of uncertainty for business, and for immigration, no big changes, certainly no major legislation. And, you know, whilst things are just going to continue, it's going to be quite divisive. I did actually ask our fantastic team in Paris today whether they thought there might be a slowdown in processing, and that could be something that's a byproduct of this disruption. So that's France.
Let me move you on then to talk about the UK.
Yeah, so Labour Party won a big majority, 411 seats against the Conservatives of 121, but overall they only got 33.7% of the vote. Again, like France, massive tactical voting. The big things for immigration, there's 5 things. The first is that the Labour Party is committed to deal with illegal migration. It's abandoned the policy that the previous government had on Rwanda, and it's forming this new border command force to look at the borders and to try and deal with illegal migration. The second thing is we're not going to see high fees go away. You know, there's already been a lot made of the fact that, you know, that the finances are in a poor position, and certainly the government can't afford to cut fees. The third thing is that it's possible that the government might do something about the resident labour market test and make employers advertise. And that's because, you know, they are committed to reduce net migration. A major thing, which is the fourth thing, is that they're going to put a lot of pressure on employers to retrain and reskill and make this a real condition of having being able to sponsor overseas nationals. And then the last thing is we're already seeing this play out, and we knew this would happen. There's a much closer relationship with Europe. So we see David Lammy already is in Germany and Poland. And, you know, they're really pushing a much closer relationship, and that would extend to immigration. So we think there'll be something like working holiday makers allowed between Europe and the UK. But obviously, you know, it's a wait and see.
Okay, so it's as Nicola put here, what a time to be alive, which I'm not sure necessarily exactly how to take that. But Julia, thank you so much for that. We're now going to move on. We've got such a big show today, and time is short, and we're going to be talking about tax, and I'm again delighted we've got Julie Barron with some really big tax news for us. So everybody, you know how it works. As we say goodbye to Julia and welcome to the show, Julie Barron, please everybody hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button. Say goodbye to Julie Onslow Cole and to welcome to our stage Vialto's Julie Barron. Hi, it's the Tax Baron. So,
hello, Brian.
You've got some Supreme Court news for us, I believe.
I do want to just quickly mention Julia talking about the French elections. A headline that I saw that said that the NPF party in France wants to raise the marginal tax rate to 90% on people who earn 400,000 euros. OMG is right. That would be really rough on some of our expats who easily make that when you add in all their allowances and things like that. So that, like she said, probably not a lot of changes will happen, but kind of an interesting little tidbit there.
It's one to fear. So that's in the camp of probably won't happen, but certainly headline grabbing.
Right, exactly. The 90% is scary. So I'll just speak quickly here about the Moore case. So I spoke about this about a year ago, I think. It's a case that came before the Supreme Court, and it did have a lot of bearing on our mobility community. And as a reminder, the Moores are a couple. They owned a share of an Indian corporation, and under some new tax laws, they were going to be taxed on unrealized earnings of that company that they owned. And their argument was that it was not constitutional for the IRS to tax them on unrealized income, and then basically was questioning what is the definition of income for US tax purposes, which is a fascinating concept, right? In a time where, what?
It's quite philosophical, isn't it?
Yes, very philosophical. Right. Define income. Does it have to be cash in your pocket, or what is the definition of income? So everyone thought the Moore case wasn't going to be found in their favor, and it was not. But what was interesting about this case was what they actually said. So it was a 7-2 vote with the Supreme Court in the favor of the IRS. And what they did say, though, was that this ruling, while you can tax unrealized income in a foreign corporation, they are not actually allowing a lot of things that we as tax professionals thought might come through in this case. And one of the things is wealth tax. So there's been some mentions of wealth tax being something that could the U.S. government start to institute a wealth tax. And the opinion was very clear. It was written by Justice Kavanaugh, and it said that we very distinctly are not saying that a wealth tax is constitutional. And so while they commented that you can tax unrealized income, they were very, very clear that they are not saying that a wealth tax would be okay. So that was kind of an interesting little tidbit in this, that all the tax practitioners were watching this and saying, okay, what can we learn from this ruling? Well, very little, actually. All of those things, if a wealth tax does come up, Supreme Court is basically saying we still have the right to determine whether that is constitutional or not.
So they're not saying it's not constitutional. They're not saying it is constitutional. Just saying
right.
They don't have an opinion at this point.
Right, and they're basically saying don't infer from our opinion on this unrealized income is taxable. You cannot infer that a wealth tax would be okay. So I found it's a very interesting case. I love when something related to mobility comes before the Supreme Court. Doesn't happen very often. So that's our latest update from the US.
Okay, so that's really, really interesting news. I said all interesting times. We've got, as I said, such a busy show. We are going to move on. We're now going to just share a little bit of Benivo news, and I'm delighted to welcome to the stage Benivo's very own Beth Nielsen. So everybody, you know how it works. Hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button, and let's say a really big thank you to Julie Barron and a welcome to the stage to Beth Nielsen. Hey Beth, how you doing?
Hello, Brian. I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I haven't seen you since, well, yesterday.
Yes, it was lovely to see you in person yesterday. For those who weren't there, we were lucky enough to be at the Alta Vita event, the summit, and it was a fantastic event. Thank you to the team that put it on. It was a real success. So much information, such a great turnout. It was great to see everyone in person.
Okay, and what news have you got to share with us today?
Well as being a big day yesterday for Alta Vita, it was a huge day for Benivo. We are absolutely thrilled to announce that we have updated our website. Please do go and check it out. There you can find information on how Benivo is introducing a new blueprint for global mobility. We're reducing layers, enabling teams to be more strategic, and we are shouting about it through our website. So please do go and check it out. And if you've got any questions, get in touch with me or another member of the Benivo team.
And this new blueprint is a bringing together of relocation services and mobility tech under a single platform. So very exciting and quite groundbreaking, actually. So if you're interested then, and I think it's in the comments there, do go and have a look on the website. You can see all about it. So Beth, thank you so much for that quick update. We're now going to move on to talk about our subject of the day, which is mobility for good. And we've got not one, not two, but three amazing presenters. We have Taylor Heideman from Move for Hunger. We have Betsy Fisher from Talent Beyond Boundaries. And we have Tanya Mariottini from everywhere, from eBay, from Worldwide ERC, and from Move for Hunger. So everybody, you know how it works. Hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button. And let's say thank you to Beth Nielsen for her update and to welcome to our stage Betsy, Taylor, and Tanya. I am honored to have on stage three people who dedicate themselves to making the world a better place. I'm just in awe of all three of you and indeed the organizations that you represent. So let's start. Tell us a bit about yourself. Taylor, tell us a bit about you.
Oh, well, thank you, Brian. First of all, thank you so much for having us and having the space for mobility for good. My name is Taylor Heideman. I'm the partnership manager at Move for Hunger. I have the honor of working with all of our relocation and transportation partners to really make our mission come to life. So for those of you that don't know Move for Hunger, we work with a large network to move surplus food into communities that need it most throughout the US and Canada.
Okay, and we'll get into that a bit more in a moment, but by way of introductions, Betsy, tell us about yourself and Talent Beyond Boundaries.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us and for this great focus today. I'm Betsy Fisher. I'm the U.S. Director of Talent Beyond Boundaries. I'm an immigration lawyer by training. Our mission is helping people who are displaced to connect with opportunities for durable safety and living wage jobs just by recognizing their skills. So we're delighted to be here today.
And Tanya, I'm sorry, we're getting a little bit of interference there. Tanya, can you just tell us a bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So happy to be on the show today. Tanya Mariottini. I lead the global mobility function at eBay, but I am here as a board member and champion for Move for Hunger. And then also as a board member.
You got the t-shirt, you got the hoodie.
Yeah, it wasn't showing, so I had to make sure. And then also a board member for WRC. And so WRC, as many of you know, is the only true nonprofit industry association for global talent mobility professionals. So really excited to share a little bit about how to get involved and how to get back to your community, which for everyone who knows me is something I'm really passionate about.
Okay, and I think all three organizations have got anniversaries, I think, as I understand it. So Taylor, you're on, how many years have you been going?
This is our 15-year anniversary, Brian, and to date, we have moved just shy of 40 million pounds of food donations throughout the US and Canada.
Oh my God, 40 million pounds of, I'm just trying to visualize what that looks like.
That is nearly 38 million meals for those that need it most. So it might be a little bit challenging to visualize that, but we've got big goals moving forward for our 15-year anniversary.
That's a lifetime. 38 million billion. Say those numbers again.
38 million meals.
Oh, I just can't get my head around that. That's an awful lot of food. Amazing, just amazing. And you've been doing that, as I said, for 15 years. So that's just incredible. And tell us about Talent Beyond Boundaries, and tell us about your statistics and your anniversary.
Sure. So next year we'll be celebrating 10 years. So we're coming up on it. We're anticipating between now and 2027 that we'll have helped 15,000 people relocate to safety through employment opportunities.
Wow.
To date, we've helped 2,000 people find durable legal status and living wage jobs by relocating, just by recognizing their skills and matching them with employers who need their talents.
Okay, we'll find out a bit about that. But Tanya, I mean, WRC, well, you're the granddaddy. So tell us about how long WRC's been going.
WRC is having their 60th anniversary this year, which is amazing. And we are looking forward to celebrating that with everybody at the Global Workforce Symposium this October outside of DC. But I would say 60 years, a lot has changed in our industry. And so it is a really exciting time as we reimagine what the next 60 years will look like.
Wow, that's just amazing. And whilst we're on the subject of statistics, I'm going to throw in that here at Benivo, as many people know, we have a Changemakers initiative, and so far this year we have raised or we've donated $70,000 to loads and loads of different charities, because each one of our Changemakers can nominate their own charity. I don't have all the data at hand, but I know that our Changemakers have donated $7,250 to you guys at Talent Beyond Boundaries. But as I said, it is completely up to our Changemakers whether they choose to do a very local charity or a major international charity. That's completely their call. So let's just go back and understand a little about the amazing work you do. Now, let's take Move for Hunger, and let's just talk it through. How does it work? I mean, I'm relocating. Let's say I'm moving from New York to Los Angeles or whatever. How does it actually work? Tell me the way it all works.
That is a great question, Brian. So we really strive to make it as easy as possible for that employee relocating to give back and have that social impact at this time in their life. So we work with a network of about 1,300 moving companies throughout the United States and Canada. Each one
I'm going to stop you there. We'll come back to it. Hold your thinking. Okay. If anybody on the show represents a moving company and you're not signed up with Move for Hunger, then contact Taylor today. Okay.
And if anyone is viewing that you are a part of the Move for Hunger network, we would love to hear from you in the comments. So give us a shout out. Let us know how much you love to get involved. But again, we work with about 1,300 moving companies. Each one of them are empowered to collect those food donations from a customer moving. So if it's that white glove service, they're coming in to do the packing. They are pausing in the pantry, in the kitchen. They're taking those unopened, non-perishable items, taking them with them, and delivering them to the local food bank or pantry. And I really want to stress that, Brian, we really strive to keep those food donations in the community and getting them to the mouths that need them most at the end of the day. So again, it's really quite simple for any customer that's moving. You either let your move coordinator know, your RMC know that you are interested in giving back, and your mover will take it from there to ensure those donations get where they're needed most.
Okay, so it's rather than me either just throwing out the food, which would be criminal, or taking it down myself to a food bank, the mover who works with Move for Hunger packs it all up, it goes to the warehouse, and then presumably every so often, whatever, once a month, they collect all the donations and they take them down to the local food bank in the area that I've just left.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Your last chance to make that impact in your community before you move on.
Okay, and you said 1,300 moving companies.
That's right. So about 1,300 companies, again, throughout the United States and Canada right now.
Okay, and how can corporates support you?
Oh, that is a great question. So corporates can get involved in a number of ways. The first is I would encourage you to look at how you can incorporate Move for Hunger into your relocation policy. So several corporates throughout the US and Canada, again, have incorporated that ability to give back and a commitment to that sustainability and social impact in the relocation process. So if you'd like to learn more about that, again, reach out to me. I'm even going to plug Tanya. You can reach out to Tanya as well, and we'll make sure you get into the right hands. Outside of that, they can join our corporate action network. So this is a really great opportunity to take that next step, to be a leader in the industry and help us kind of continue our mission and our vision to grow. As I mentioned, it is our 15-year anniversary, and we've got some big goals this year. So our corporate action network helps us achieve those goals.
Taylor, I've just seen your nails have become a superstar on LinkedIn. Let's put that comment up again from Jacqueline Van Hafter. There we go. Fantastic. By the way, love your nails.
Thank you. It's an orange summer for me, so I appreciate that.
Okay, there we go. But Tanya, let me bring you into the conversation, because you're on the board of Move for Hunger. Tell us about some of the ways that you have helped people support. And I know there's cool things like truck pulls and there's the Fight for Hunger. Tell me about some of the cool things that you've been involved with that Move for Hunger is doing to raise money at the moment.
No, absolutely. And I always feel I'm so glad. I mean, Taylor talked about the Corporate Action Network, which I think is just so fabulous. Other ways, obviously being part of the board, right? We have regular conversations about, where are things headed? What opportunities are there? Where can we get involved in different places? But some of the things that I've been involved in and would love to plug as well is little things. Donate your birthday or donate some kind of anniversary. It's a fun way to give back, and the Move for Hunger team will help coordinate everything for you. There's also a really great program, which I have recently joined as a monthly donor, and to be part of the monthly donor network. And that's so important, because then the Move for Hunger team has regular funds that they can count on every month, and it allows them to plan better for how they can support the communities. And it's just a really nice way to set that up, and it just runs. There's trivia, there's truck pulls. We should definitely plug some of the truck pulls. The truck pulls are so much fun. It is also really hard to pull a truck. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I imagined it to be hard, but it was really hard, but it's a lot of fun. It's a nice way to get involved in the community and bring other folks out. So there's just so many different ways.
Tell me about a truck pull. When is the next truck pull happening? And how does
I don't know the next truck pull, but I'm on the planning committee for the 3rd annual Bay Area truck pull. It's October 9th. It's a day before the Bay Area Mobility Management Conference on October 10th. So I'll be there. Taylor will probably be there. We're hoping lots of you come out and join. It's at the USS Hornet, which is the coolest location. And we need people to pull trucks. We need volunteers for the day of event. We just need people to show up and cheerlead other people. If I just told you how hard it was to pull a truck, maybe you don't want to pull a truck, but please show up. There'll be food trucks. It's a great venue. It's a lot of fun to give back to the community. So
I'm going to assume I can be ignorance. I don't know what a truck. I mean, is the truck? I assume it hasn't got its brake on. Is it uphill, downhill? How far are you pulling it? I mean, downhill would be dangerous.
They try to make it pretty level, but I feel like the truck pull we had in Portland a few years ago was at a slight incline, which made it a little bit extra hard. But I think they try to have it in a flat location. Imagine like a really large rope attached to a truck that one of the moving companies has generously donated for that day, and a team of 10-ish people trying to pull that truck. I don't know how far it is. It's not that far, but it feels like a really long distance.
That's amazing. I mean, I love it. Well, we got the Olympics coming up in Paris in a few weeks. Maybe truck pulling should be on the Olympic list. Deb Convey says it was great. It said, I'm not sure it was what. Probably it was a long way, but
it was
so
hard. Maybe.
Good shout out to Deb. I saw we got Drew there as well. So we got a few guys from the Bay Area and the West Coast coming in. Let's move on to talk a bit about Talent Beyond Boundaries and bring you into the conversation. Because what you do is truly incredible, Betsy. I mean, what you all do is truly incredible, but Talent Beyond Boundaries, it's complex because, refugees by definition are in a very difficult situation, and but there's a lot of talent out there. So tell us about how it all started. Tell us about it was uphill in Portland, Deb is saying. So there we go. So Betsy, tell us, how did Talent Beyond Boundaries start? Just tell us the background to this.
Yeah, so 3 different people, 2 in the US and 1 in Australia, kind of came to the same conclusion. They were, watching headlines about the lack of solutions for people who were forced to flee from Syria. And they realized, these are people who are leaving behind their homes, sometimes their families, many times all their worldly possessions, but they were taking with them their skills. And so it was this very simple idea. There's all of these companies out there with workforce needs, and there's all of these displaced people who have talents and skills. Let's just connect them. And this is something that I think global mobility professionals are just like, I don't have to explain this to you. You know this. You know that businesses benefit so much when there's an ability to recruit the people you need, to have flexibility, but also to bring in talent from different backgrounds. And you also know how life-changing it can be for someone to move for work. People are moving for work across borders every day by the thousands. Why not refugees? That's our idea. That's how we got started.
Okay, and you mentioned that it started with refugees in Syria or from Syria. But what's it like now? I mean, how many other countries are you working with? I'm not sure what the language is. It's not home and host, but countries of origin and countries of destination. Yeah,
so we have assisted people currently living in several dozen countries to relocate to about 9 different countries. Originally, we were really focused in Jordan and Lebanon for people who were displaced from Syria, but now we're supporting people globally in Latin America and East Africa and Southeast Asia, as well as in the Middle East. And we're helping people to relocate to our biggest countries by volume are Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom. But we're also supporting people to relocate in several countries in the EU and where I'm based to the United States as well.
So, because you're based in the United States, which I believe historically was quite problematic for refugee visas. Has that changed? Is that becoming easier? And what's your role there, in the US?
Yeah, we're delighted to say that there is a pathway that we're working on. We're implementing partners along with the International Rescue Committee, working with the State Department on a program called Welcome Corps at Work. So we're matching employers who have roles that they need with refugees who have that talent, and then local members of the community who are assisting with welcoming. This program is free for employers. Let me say that again. It is free for employers. It is much more flexible than visa processes, so we don't have to meet the specific criteria of this visa category or that visa category. If this is of interest to you, please find me on LinkedIn. Please email me. Please reach out. We would love to talk to you about your hiring needs that are flexible through a program that is free. And we're also going to be launching a program focused on people with STEM PhDs to relocate through a program called the Displaced STEM Professionals Initiative that we haven't launched yet, but hope to announce soon.
So who is your typical client? I mean, we've talked about the refugees themselves, but the corporate, who is your typical client? What sort of company might it be?
It varies widely. I think our biggest employers by volume are healthcare industries, skilled trades industries, and then also a whole array of professionals in consulting or IT. But if you name it, we have talent who can do the role. We have 116,000 people who are displaced and who have registered their skills, experience, and interest in relocating on a platform called the Talent Catalog. Please reach out if you're looking to hire.
Okay. And one other question I want to ask you is that how does it work? Because if I'm fleeing, heaven forbid, danger and become a refugee, if I'm really, really smart and quick, I might remember to take my passport with me.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect it's not going to be my top priority to take my degree certificate or my professional qualification. So how does it work when you're trying to get a job as a refugee, but you don't have all the necessary documentation? And let's face it, most government agencies are pretty bureaucratic when it comes to saying the documentation they need. So how does that work? And do you help refugees, in terms of that side of it, actually getting the documentation or getting documentation waivers?
Yeah, so we go one step further. We're actually advocating with governments to set up pathways that are flexible to respond to the realities that refugees are in. So we're doing the job matching, but a lot of what we're doing is designing and implementing the pathways with governments. And if I may, knowing that we have these pathways that can help you hire, we're launching a campaign called Mobility for Displaced Talent. The link was just shared on the screen, and we're looking for service providers and corporates alike. Knowing the skills, the talents, the energy that you bring, we have a whole range of ways that you can pledge to support our work. Of course, we're always looking for cash and financial support, whether that's through an end of year campaign like the good folks at Fragaman have done for several years with staff donating and the company matching, which we're so grateful for. But you could also, if you're a service provider that has corporate housing, donate accommodations for people who are relocating or for our staff presenting at events. You can invite us to present at an event like this, to present to your clients or to your company about hiring. You could connect us to your clients. If you're, as immigration providers, as mobility providers, you're the trusted source of how are we going to meet our workforce needs? How are we going to problem solve? Make us one part of that workforce development solution. And of course, hiring. And finally, we also are close partners with Miles for Migrants, which allows people to donate their airline miles that they're not going to use or don't need to support people to relocate. So you can donate your unused airline miles and support our work and support refugees to access lasting safety and living wage jobs.
And the airlines, obviously, they'll do that. They'll
do it. They're partners in the work. Yeah.
That's just amazing. I hear so many clever ideas. I want to bring Tanya into the into the conversation. Tanya, I mean, we've talked a bit about Move for Hunger. We talked a bit about TBB, but let's talk about worldwide ERC. It is, after all, at the end of the day, for us in the relocation industry, it is our trade association. It is our body. How can people support WERC? What can we all do to support you? And what's your role there as well?
Yeah, no, I am so excited to talk about this. So, we have, I think last year at the Global Workforce Symposium, Anna Palm had shared the vision about for the people, by the people. And to your point, Brian, like, this is our industry association, and we want to make sure that we're bringing value to all its members. And so there are several policy committees, immigration, real estate, corporate. There's a corporate action council, which I am the chair for. We've got about 30 corporate members. And the ask is really, we want to hear from you. We want you to engage. We want you to tell us, how do we help you succeed? How do we make your jobs easier? Is that training? Is that research? Is that resources? Is it insights? Is it thought leadership? Is it networking? And so we have activated, I think we have over 300 volunteers right now who are on different committees and councils who are having conversations. And like I mentioned earlier, we're celebrating our 60th anniversary, and we're envisioning what does the next 60 years look like, and we need everybody's input to be able to do that. So I think it's a really exciting time to get involved. Thank you for flashing the email address. If you're interested in being on one of the council's committees, you want to share your thoughts about, what we could do differently, what would help you be successful in your role, how you see the global talent mobility industry changing, reach out. You can always reach out to me, but send a note to that email address and say, hey, I'd like to get involved, and here's the area that I'm passionate about. And we will plug you in, and just to say, we want to hear from you and we want you to engage with us, because again, we are the industry association and we exist to serve our members. So we really want to hear from our members what you need.
And what sort of people are you looking for? Are you looking for young rising stars, people who've been around a long time?
Everybody. Yeah, I was going to say there's an emerging talent group, there's supplier group, there's corporate groups, there's industry segments, there's actually, I think personally, I think WRC could do a better job, but we actually do quite a bit of lobbying. I know there's going to be, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it, but there's a day that they're actually going to go the day before WRC in DC to go and meet with some of our political representatives to day in Washington. I'm not saying that right, but there's a day to get involved in that. So there's, again, depending on what you're passionate about, what your company has an interest in, what role you'd like to play, again, different levels of commitment, right, as far as time. So we really want to hear from everybody.
And ERC does stuff throughout the year, doesn't it? Through all the sort of the regional councils as well.
Regional councils, and then also recently, at least for corporates, announced a partnership with Kerwin Guillermo at HPE, and I know they've got something coming up in Australia soon. So regional across the US, but also events all throughout the globe. And we recently announced our Work APAC Association and had a conference in Singapore. There's one coming up in Brazil and LATAM. So there's endless ways to get involved. And I think I should make a plug too. I know we talked about this, Brian, earlier, but like, I'm passionate about Move for Hunger. I love the work that Betsy and the Talent Beyond Boundaries team is doing. But there are so many ways for everybody on this call to give back to your community. And you might be passionate about something else, and that is fabulous. But I would just encourage everybody, like, get involved to make a difference. And from a corporate perspective, a little bit on my soapbox platform, but most companies, every company I've worked for has been very values driven. They have volunteer time off. They match volunteer time. They match donations. Like, they also have internal organizations where you can be involved in giving back. So I'm super excited we get to share about WRC and Move for Hunger and Talent Beyond Boundaries, but I just make a pitch to everyone, like, there are lots of great associations. We like to pitch for these ones, but please, whatever it is you're passionate about, I just think you get so much out of it, and it's so important to give back.
Let me just come in on that, because I couldn't agree more, Tanya. I mean, I look at it, again, as some of the stuff that's happened through the Benivo Changemakers initiative. We have, I think now it's 160 or slightly more changemakers. And the deal with the changemakers is that every changemaker can nominate a charity of their choice. And as a thank you for them basically giving us a bit of their time to let us know what they think about some technology development or something that Benivo is doing, we make a donation to the charity they nominate. And I find it quite staggering when I look at the range of the charities. In some cases, it might be some small school that is in, I don't know, Nepal or Botswana or somewhere. In another case, it might be a huge national or international cancer charity, or I don't know, just a whole range of different charities, from big global to small, provincial, down to sort of the equivalent of a one man and a dog charity that doing just something very, very hyper local. And it is amazing to see. And also you can see the passions we speak to their change makers. And I get a change maker on the show. I have one every other week. We have somebody on the show. I think last week it was Diogo Matos from Solvay who was talking about his charity, which is actually a food bank in Lisbon. But people are so passionate about the charities. And if you're not involved in a charity, and that's, I think, is the point I was going to make, and I know, Tanya, was the point you were making. If you're not involved in a charity, please do get involved, either financially or maybe one stage further by volunteering, or one stage further by actually getting on the board or becoming a trustee. But let me ask you another question that's related to that, Tanya, is, I'll put this maybe slightly cynically, but what's in it for you? What do you get, or what do we as people get out of being involved in a charity, apart from a fuzzy feel-good thing? What else are you getting out of it in terms of personal development or skills that you learn by your charity involvement?
So I know like a big part of it obviously is the intangible, the warm, fuzzy feeling and knowing that you've made a difference in someone else's life. But also for me, being on the board for Move for Hunger and also for WRC has been really eye-opening. As a global mobility professional, I have just a very kind of limited view of the business. But being on the board, I've gotten to work with some very senior leaders in different organizations, and I've learned so much from them. I've learned from their perspectives. I've built relationships. I felt like they've been mentors to me and helped me grow, which has just been immeasurable. And then even I just think of like some of the truck pull planning committees, like I've made just really great personal friendships, but also people that I've been able to leverage in my network for thought partnership. So there have definitely been some rewards, although again, not the reason to do it, but like some other benefits that have come out of just being really involved in giving back.
Okay, and then before, I've got a question actually for you, Betsy, from Jacqueline van Haften, who is based in the Netherlands. And she said, very simple question, why don't you have a rep in the EU?
Yes. And I responded on LinkedIn, but we do. We absolutely have an entire team across the EU. We're not in every EU country yet, but we are in many and eager to make partnerships across the region. So we would really encourage you to connect. Our website is talentbeyondboundaries.org. The colleague who was originally supposed to appear today is in fact our EU and UK director, Marina Brizar. So you can also reach out to her on LinkedIn. But yes, the EU is a really important region for us, and we're delighted to hear that you're interested.
Okay, and a question for you, Taylor, and I've got a personal interest in this. Move for Hunger is an amazing charity, but you are focused on the US and Canada. How can we as an industry persuade you guys to internationalize and to set up stuff around Europe or Latin America or other countries, because it's such an amazing concept. But as far as I know, it's not a concept that is in other countries.
Ryan, I will say right now our focus is on the 50 states in Canada, but I'm very hopeful in the near future we will see Move for Hunger exploring the opportunity to expand beyond those boundaries. I think the more work that we hear from our own industry doing that work in their food banks, their food pantries throughout the world is going to help us kind of drive that mission. And I love hearing that you even have a change maker that is passionate about their own food bank. So I think more work in our food banks, the more our industry can advocate for it. I believe you might see Move for Hunger kind of moving beyond our boundaries in the near future.
I'd love to. I mean, speaking personally, I collect from my local food bank. Every month I'm collecting for them but there's nothing organized. I mean, it's done locally, as I'm sure happens all over the world, but there's nothing through the moving companies. But tell me, how do you coordinate with the moving company? You said you've got 1,300 of them. So that's a lot of moving companies. How do you coordinate with them? How does it work? Do you provide them with boxes? How do you incent them, or are they just self-incented? And how does the message get through to the end user to actually say, here's an idea? I mean, do the companies help promote it? I mean, who's doing the pushing here? How does it all work in practice?
Absolutely. So I would say it comes from those moving companies. We do give them the tools to market this service out to their customers as well. So each one of them has individual unique tools co-branded to their own company and to their own area, right? So we supply them with what hunger looks like in their state, in their community. I always say sometimes we don't realize that hunger could be right in front of us, right? We've got our blinders on, but we really give the moving companies those tools to tell that story. So it kind of starts at the Move coordinator phase, right? And introducing that service to your customer. It's a great way to even convert potentially a lead, having that standout service. And then our moving companies supply the box to that customer. So if they are interested, the moving company will drop it off, usually at the time of an estimate or the time of a sale. From there, the customer is either going to pack their donations or the moving company will do it for them, depending on the level of service. And again, our moving companies are really going to be the ones that are taking it back to their warehouse and then to the local food bank. So we do give them the tools to market. From a Move for Hunger perspective, we also love to market it. And our corporate clients are also helping us kind of push that mission along, right? So embedding it in that relocation policy helps to kind of further the ability to donate your food.
I wanted to take that point and actually raise it with Tanya. I mean, you've worked for, and you've had a number of senior positions in our industry with different companies over the years. Do companies ever actually put it, if they're going out for an RFP or something, do they say anything like as forceful as, we prefer working with moving companies that support Move for Hunger? Or do you ever put any form of, not pressure's not the right word, but encouragement on moving companies to say, we want to see a little bit of giving back as part of what you do?
Yeah, so it shows up in a couple ways, not maybe as explicitly as you must use Move for Hunger, although folks who know me in the industry could assume that. But it's more about, and again, going back to what are your company's values, but it's usually a question around sustainability and what are you doing? What actions are you taking? What kind of involvement do you have in giving back to your community, and how does that show up? And so, yeah, I have definitely included that in RFPs, and it's been a key consideration. Like, is this a partner that has shared values, and what are they already doing in regards to sustainability and giving back to their community? And again, it could be volunteering. Different organizations have different charities, but we just want to know that we have shared values and goals. So definitely shows up in RFPs. And I would like to think, especially under the umbrella of sustainability, it's probably going to show up more and more going forward in a lot of RFPs, and just expectations that corporations have. And maybe just to also add is that some of that expectation around sustainability and also diversity comes from the top, and it comes from procurement. So they're also asking those questions. And so it's not just of mobility suppliers, it's of the entire supply chain that a company works with.
Okay, and we're getting towards the end of the show, but I've got a question I'm dying to ask you, Betsy, to bring you back into the conversations. I can imagine that convincing employers to hire displaced talent is a bit of a hard conversation sometimes, because people sometimes, they're so busy doing things the way they've already done it, and it might be a bit sort of, I don't know, not risk is not the right word, but out of the box to do this. How do you actually persuade employers to hire displaced talent, and how do you address that? How do you go about actually signing up your corporate members or your corporate supporters?
Yeah, I think how we convince people is really simple. It's the talent. The people that we're putting forward are qualified for the roles and are outstanding employees. Overwhelmingly, employers say that they're happy with the talent they've hired, that they would recommend the program to others. And we have exceptional retention rates also for candidates who've remained at their employer for at least a year. So that part's easy. I think what can be challenging is the uncertainty of immigration timelines. And then, as you alluded to, the rigidity of HR processes can sometimes be challenging if we're hiring people outside of a standard process. But in terms of how people find us, sometimes people hear us presenting at an event like this, reach out to us through the website, et cetera. But however people come to us, we're happy to connect, to learn about their needs, and to see if we can help them with the 116,000 people we've already connected with, and if there's an applicable immigration stream that could help them.
And one last question, and we've literally got a minute left. But when you find the refugees who are about to be hired, are they at that point living in the destination country but maybe haven't got a job, or are they actually still maybe in a refugee camp somewhere in an original location and you're moving them?
Yeah, they're displaced, but living in a country without long-term legal status. So Congolese refugees living in Uganda, Syrian refugees living in Lebanon, Venezuelan refugees living in Colombia, to name just 3 random examples.
So they wouldn't be in UK, France,
right,
US at that point.
Right. And we connect with them by just being present and building partnerships with organizations that are already doing amazing work in refugee communities.
Okay. I mean, I wish I was wearing a cap, because I want to take it off and doff my hat. I mean, the 3 of you are just saints. I mean, what you're doing and what your organizations do are just remarkable. And for everybody watching this show, please give it up, hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button, say a big, just well done on behalf of everybody for all the good work you're doing. But more importantly, get involved. I mean, everybody on this call could get involved in some way and support either Move for Hunger or TBB or WERC or indeed any other charity. But just do something and let's all get involved. I'm now going to bring back our other guests. We've got Julie Onslow Cole, we've got Julie Barron, we've got Beth Nielsen, and our amazing producer, Tally Gorin. Our hour sadly is up. We could have carried on for another hour quite easily. Many, many thanks to everybody. My name is Brian Friedman. This has been The View from the Top. We've been discussing mobility for good. And next week, we're back to talk about managing a mega program. So please, everybody, have a great week and join us again this time next Wednesday. Take care, everybody, and have a great week.